Hey, everybody. Hey, Talk Universe. I am live with Mary Daniels, Donna Stoering. We had some challenges this week, and Mary and Donna have fought through the challenges. So they are my favorite people on the planet right now. We've got a great, smaller show for you on today, and I am really excited about this. And we're going to jump in on the individual interviews in just a moment. We're running a couple of minutes late, which is okay, just because of what we're doing right now. And let's see here. Let's see. Mary, if we can start with you, would that be okay?
That's more than okay.
All right. So I'm going to practice your bio, and it's for Mary Daniels, a powerful storyteller, workshop facilitator, inspiring TEDx speaker, and Hay House author. Mary Daniels has coached women CEOs and young people. Described by Princess Badia of Jordan. Am I saying her name correct?
Yes, you are.
Princess Badia of Jordan as a very inspiring lady and powerhouse destined for greatness. And then it kind of cut off after that. So that's why I limit the characters, because some of these bios can go a little extra long. So the pronunciations are good. All of that.
It is. And it did cut. Right. It was a few words, but the powerhouse destined for greatness was.
I cannot see or hear Mary. Am I supposed to?
Yeah, you should, but we'll take care of that when we come to it. What I'm going to do, Donna, we'll get with you in about 15 minutes for your interview. I'm going to virtually walk you over to the virtual green room, and you should be able to watch the interview from the green room. So, hey, folks watching this is so interesting. This whole virtual thing. I'm gonna escort Donna over there right now. And now we have myself and Mary.
Wow.
And Donna, you're in the green room now. So can you see Mary and myself? I'm getting a nod. All right. Nobody else can see that, but I am getting a nod, which is really, really good. So that is good. I am playing around with the logos and all of that stuff. Mary, if you can do one thing for me, if you can actually tilt your laptop so that you grow. There you go. Usually everybody does it the other way. They do it the other way, and then they start getting even smaller and smaller. Talk Universe knows that my greatest single fear is especially when I'm interviewing anyone, but especially interviewing women with all of the, the socio-political dynamics right now. I don't ever want to be sitting higher than the women that I'm interviewing, because I don't like the optics of that, and neither do you, Talk Universe. So, not just saying, we're equals here, and we should be equals, and now we are. So, I'm looking the wrong way. There we go. Now we are. So we are equals, are we not, Mary?
Thank you. We are.
Yes, we are. Okay. Well, great. Now, Mary, what time is it over where you are?
It is 4:10 in UK. So
in the morning.
Yeah. In the evening.
In the evening.
4:10.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, in the evening. Oh, yeah. The morning that I had, you might as well be a little confused over it. Yeah, 4 in the evening. Okay, very good. All right. Well, hey, any questions for me before we go on live here?
No, I'm just I'm assuming it's just going to be a flowing conversation, and I'll take your lead.
Yeah.
And just go.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun here for sure.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, let's see. We've got that right there. All right. And it's marydaniels.co.uk, Confessions of a Failed Goodist.
Yes.
And here we go in 3, 2. We are live with Mary Daniels. Mary, are you ready to talk?
I'm always ready to talk.
A powerful storyteller, workshop facilitator, inspiring TEDx speaker, and Hay House author, Mary Daniels has coached women, CEOs, and young people. Described by Princess Badia of Jordan as very inspiring, as a very inspiring lady and powerhouse destined for greatness. Mary Daniels, welcome for the talk.
Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome to the talk, and your talk is actually specifically called Confessions of a Failed Goodist. I love this because I can relate. Sometimes I just like to dig a little deeper behind the talk. You were doing all these good, helpful things. You were the term sometimes has a negative connotation. I don't mean it in a negative way, but a real social justice oriented person that with meaning that in the best way possible. But in the same way, you were running around and you were actually searching for something deeper from all of that. And so you came to the conclusion that we are not inherently good or bad. We are inherently human. And it was a result of a very difficult background that you had, that you were trying to do all these good, helpful things. And who can't relate to that? Mary, please take us in just a couple of minutes behind the talk.
Yeah, so I mean, you hit the nail on the head, really. And I wouldn't even say I was doing good things well. I think it was just this sense of I felt that I needed to be a good person. And that had stemmed from a childhood of constantly having messages around what good looked like, like the good grades, the good home, the good job, all of these things, you get defined at an early age. And it was a really challenging childhood. So I think I grew up almost feeling that my worth and meaning was being defined by doing good deeds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really, and I think the whole goodest thing, I mean, it was without going too much into detail, it was a very challenging childhood, lots of abuse on all levels, from sort of violent, emotional, physical, sexual. I was sort of raped by a family member at the age of 17. And so I had these mixed messages of being good at school and in the community, and we went to church and we did all of those sorts of things. And, everything was about education. But on the flip side, you go into this household that was very destructive, very dysfunctional. And as a young child, you're also taught that fits under the umbrella of good. So I think I came out sort of, a bubbly, optimistic mess.
Bubbly, you heard it here, folks. A bubbly, optimistic mess. Yeah. And I've got to credit you, Mary. I mean, I'm just kind of observing this. I enjoyed your talk. I watched this several times, obviously, and we're going to give you a show notes, Talk Universe, you listening, so that you can watch this talk. It almost seems to me like kind of my armchair analysis that instead it's almost like that psychological term, locus of control. Are you a person that just kind of abandons control? Oh, I'm just a victim of everything, which a lot of people, for every legitimate reason, that you really are almost victimized by those circumstances. Good for you. You stepped up and you said, what can I do to help somebody else? So you took control back, but yet there was a deeper driver. And then you discovered Viktor Frankl and Men's Search for Meaning, how he was in that concentration camp and he realized he had the power of choice no matter what someone externally compelled him to do or not do. He had the power to determine his thoughts, beliefs, and motivations for things. So that was very powerful. Can you speak to that for a little bit?
Yes. And first of all, I want to get really honest with people. It took a long time. And I think this is a lifetime's journey. And it culminated in me at the age of 24, roughly, finding myself on the side of a bridge in London with my baby at the time and ready to jump. Mm-hmm. And thankfully I didn't. And lots of things were going through my mind at that time. But on this quest to really, I think, figure out what sits behind this, what was driving me, what got me to that point, I discovered Viktor Frankl's book and many other books. I mean, there's Immaculée, who was also caught up in the Rwandan genocide, and how she managed to find forgiveness while stood in a bath with people who'd killed her family outside of the window. And she was there with a small group of people for days. So I think for me, what it opened up is this power of choice. We may not be able to control and choose everything that's happening to us physically, but we do have the power to choose our response to that. And that, I think that has taken me on a whole completely different path. Yeah, really has.
One thing that I can relate, and a lot of Talk Universe listening to you right now, Mary. You mentioned having a little bit of a religious upbringing, and it's very interesting because people of faith. It's very important. The faith is very, very important, and yet I think every honest person of faith will acknowledge that there's that very kind of rule-oriented, rigid side that isn't always part of that true faith. And all these other rules come into that. So I really love and appreciate how you are separating that a little bit. I think I'm kind of maybe driving a little bit of a wedge right now in there as well, because I want to clarify that a little bit. It's so interesting, just my perception of you, what you're saying, and through the faith lens, I know that there is often a deeper meaning, and yet I can really appreciate what you said, and I'll say it again: we're not inherently good or bad; we are inherently human. And I think that outside of whatever personal belief system and higher truth that you may follow, I just love the commonality of what you have said there. And if you can, Talk Universe, if you can hear this, I just think it's a beautiful philosophy that you have, that we have to take the good as well as the human parts and filter that through whatever you need to do in your belief system. But I love that this idea that we're just kind of we're not stuck with who we are, because we can make ourselves better. But then at the end of the day, we are who we are, and we have to deal with that. So there's just this beautiful philosophy in there. I wonder if you could unpack that for us a little bit. Yeah. I think we could spend weeks talking about that, but what's your take on it?
I know, and please stop me if I go on too long, because it's simple and complex at the same time. And I think when I say inherently human, I have a faith that is a mix of all sorts of things. So brought up in a very Christian sort of Methodist background, went to a Catholic convent school. The first guy I fell in love with was a Buddhist, Hare Krishna. So that whole mix, came together. All by the age of 18, I have to say. So, I was in this really, I think, beautiful exploratory space. And I just developed in that, I think, mix between not finding that my religious faith, there wasn't a contradiction for me between that and being spiritual or believing in this greater good. Now, I'm going to say the word greater good in abbreviations, because when I say we're neither good nor bad, we're inherently human, what I mean by that is my faith says that we are, let's say, these higher beings or greater forces that are in this human body. Now, that may resonate with some people, it may not resonate with others, but I think when we're working with the human definition of good and bad, we move into this judgment of right and wrong. And what I'm trying to move away or trying to share from these things is this is not about, if we operate in a world of right or wrong, we're in trouble, because we're always operating in a world of judgment. And judgment means that it is us and them, something outside, separation. And when we look at the world around us, there is a lot of he's bad, she's bad, he's good, she's good, whatever it is. And it divides us. It creates this separation. Coming from this place of, because I know that we all have everything within us. So here I was, simple example. My father was a devout Christian, went to church, did amazing things. At the same time, he was also very dysfunctional, very damaging, very harmful. Now, is he a good person or a bad person? Depends who met him and on which day and who you're asking. If I were to say that actually he's a bad person, that keeps me as a victim, first of all. But what that also then does is it negates all of the positive experiences that I also had as a child and that he also drove. So it is dangerous for me to then say someone is all of one thing or all of another, because I whitewash the situation. I completely remove the true meaning and depth. And what I'm then saying is that it's not possible for somebody who does things that we can deem as bad to also do good things. In the same way, it is possible for people who do things that we term as good to also do things that are harmful. So we're not one thing. We're neither this or that. We are everything and can be all of that in one single moment.
This is very powerful, Talk Universe, because I'm trying to, I would take notes on this, except I wouldn't be present in the interview. This is one of those times I got so much out of that. I got just observing. It's almost like there's a link between what we can often feel as a moral judgment made based on our interpretation of something that we got from somewhere else, and that turns into, if we're not careful, a typecasting or a judgment or a stereotyping or a limiting or a controlling of someone else. And yet, tragically, on the other hand, we can stand for all the things that sound very good, but if we treat other people in an inconsistent way,
yes,
and maybe and that may just include perpetuating perhaps abuse that we've been through that we haven't been open or just able to process, and we're just perpetuating that without realizing it, then it can really invalidate a lot of the truth that we're seeking to espouse. We're seeing this tragically. I live 2 miles from the state of Pennsylvania, and there was this horrible cover-up in the church of abuse that has just been released by the state authorities. So that's a really horrible but really, really relevant and timely example of that. And I see, and you saw, Mary, people growing up in the church that really believe and really eager and very earnest and trying very hard and maybe a little conflicted somewhere. But then at some point when the private deeds don't match up to the very, very high perfective moral standard, and then there's a lack of awareness, then there's really great damage that can be done. And then perhaps I would like to hope and hold out hope that there's great redemption that can come on the flip side if and when people begin to own up to it. And hopefully we're starting to see all that. What's your final word on that? We're waxing eloquent here today with Mary Daniels. What's your final word on that whole piece?
I totally agree with you. I think the key thing here is about that level of self-awareness, and knowing that we do hold all of those elements within us. We all have the potential to move up and down that spectrum. And I think it's sadly not just within the church. We're seeing it everywhere in the world, politics, within communities, within all of these spaces that we see as safe. So I think the key thing is know who you are. Be aware of who you are, really raise your awareness, know that we can contain anything. And if we move into a space of judgment of good or bad, we actually move into a disempowered place. And so it's holding on to that and knowing that everything that is going on within us is also mirrored in others and our world around us. And I think if we operate from that place, then we've got a strongest chance of actually uniting together and finding that peace within ourselves and also as a collective. So for me, I think it's really self-awareness is key.
Well, we've been talking to Mary Daniels, her talk, Confessions of a Failed Goodist, and we're going to be right back with Mary Daniels in just a moment for the Blitz Round. And it's time for the Blitz Round, Talk Universe. We are pivoting over to you and your first talk. I'm about to ask Mary a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent talk. Mary, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, first question. Were you invited to speak or did you apply?
I think I was invited.
All right. So were you a memorizer, were you an improviser, or a blender?
A blender.
And you walk out on stage. Did you have nerves or were you in the zone or neither or both?
Absolutely terrified.
So how did you deal with that as a blender? Did the blend help once you got into it?
Do you know what? I became a truster. I said, I tell you what, whatever's coming through, you better hurry up and show up now.
Talk Universe, you gotta love it. What besides just trusting? What's another tip, tool, or technique that helped you?
Do you know, in a weird way, I don't want to belittle that. Trusting was really good, and just breathing and trying to stay connected because the audience was dark. I couldn't see a thing. Staying connected to what was the purpose of why I was there. What was the single message I wanted to communicate? But I hate to say this, trust was 99.9%.
I think maybe other people would call that being present, which is certainly a good thing. My question, this isn't in the Blitz round, but you had an intensely personal talk. And you kept it about us as an audience. You kept the focus on the good that it could give us instead of the trauma and kind of wallowing or getting stuck in your own story. What's your advice for other people that have this kind of a talk, a personal tragedy that could be turned around for the greater good and staying in that space?
Oh, great question. I think because I realized that no matter what all of us as a collective has gone through, we all share similar experiences. The events may not be the same, but the experiences are the same around questioning who we are, the conditioning, the messages that we've had maybe throughout our life or our childhood or whatever it is. There are some key questions I think we all face and ask ourselves, which is who are we? Consciously or unconsciously, and that allowed me that sort of shared experience of the questioning allowed me to stay in that space of the us and the we.
Powerful stuff. Well, we've been having the Blitz round with Mary Daniels. Her talk is called Confessions of a Failed Goodist, and you can go to our show notes page to watch that talk. We will have a link to it at bethetalk.com. We will also have a link to Mary Daniels' website at marydaniels.co.uk, marydaniels.co.uk. And we'll be back with Mary Daniels in just a moment for the final word of advice. And we're back with Mary Daniels. What is the final word of advice for Talk Universe?
I think my final word is that we are all the same. Even if it doesn't look like it on the outside, we're all facing similar challenges. And purpose and meaning shouldn't come from what we do. Purpose and meaning is inherently about who we are being. And if we can operate through that, then life should be good.
Mary Daniels, thanks so much for sharing your wisdom today with Talk Universe.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's a wrap.
Oh, fantastic.
Congratulations. You are our newest Talk alumni. We are escorting Donna back from the green room into the virtual room. My dog, hopefully you can't hear this on Facebook Live. You do?
Yes.
You could hear that?
Yeah.
I'm looking at my recorder. Hopefully it filtered it out somehow, but she is going she stopped now that the interview's over. It looked like it might not have gotten recorded, hopefully.
But,
the only reason I noticed it is because I thought it might be a dog outside my office.
Oh,
and I thought,
darn it.
Great.
Oh, darn it. Okay, well, I got to...
Doesn't matter.
Well, it does. It actually...
It was pretty soft, is what I mean. It wasn't super loud or anything.
Well, that's because I have this gate. I guess I need to crank that gate up a little bit, but oh well. Oh, well, sometimes the mixer cannot save you from what's going on in the next room, but go figure. All right. So, I'm going to just check up, make sure there isn't somebody running around my downstairs kitchen with a knife or something.
Good
anyway,
point.
so you can talk universe, you can discuss, you can comment, you can react. It looks like our alumni Brian Benson stopped by, so thank you, Brian. And I'm going to escort myself back down to the green room. I will be right back. Two of you can talk, and we are still broadcasting on Facebook Live. I will be back in just a moment. For just gonna mention that I'll be right back on to take care of Donna's interview.
Hi, Donna. Nice to meet you.
I unfortunately cannot see or hear anyone.
Oh, wow.
So if you're there, I'd love to talk to you, whoever you are. But
okay, so I'm not sure.
Hopefully you can hear me for when they do the interview time.
I was just thinking, I'm not sure.
And Mary, I wish I could have heard your talk.
You definitely can't hear me. Well, those of you who are watching,
I'll look forward to playing it later.
Yeah, same here. This is weird because I don't think we're live on Facebook at the moment. I will double check. Oh, we might be. Oh gosh, so let's find out which one of us that they can hear. Hang on, I'm gonna watch the
Mary,
app.
I don't know if you're still there, but I know you're in the UK.
Yes.
And I lived there for 18 years, so.
Oh wow.
Your name's really familiar to me, so I wonder if we met at some point or worked together.
I'm just thinking that I have to. Oh, okay. So
Again, to all of you who are on right now, if you can hear me, I'm the next interviewee, but Nathan had to go check on something and he'll be back.
And I'm not sure if you guys can hear me.
I unfortunately cannot hear or see anyone, but I know you're out there.
So if you guys can hear me, this is the funniest situation. You kind of have to go with the flow. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it. I always like the bizarre or where the natural, let's say the natural happens. And I have no idea. Let's have a look and see. I'm actually going to have a look on Facebook Live.
Are you there?
And see. Oh.
It should be broadcasting now on Facebook Live.
Oh my God, it's live. Let's say the
Yeah, no, it's Facebook Live. I'm telling you, it's live.
Wow.
That's how it goes.
Okay, I'm going to have to pause mine.
Okay,
That's
so
funny.
you can see and hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can. So, Mary, thank you so much. You're welcome to stick around in the green room, and then we'll circle back after Donna. So, thank you for that final unofficial advice for Donna here. Let's do this. I'm going to put Donna's name tag on, virtual name tag right there. Donna, you ready to rock?
Sure.
All right. So let me read your bio here, and it's Stoering.
Perfect.
I gave you two pronunciations. So either one. What's the preferred pronunciation? Is what I'm asking.
They both sounded fine. Storing, like you're storing nuts for the winter. I mean, if I'm in Europe, they say Stoering, so it just doesn't matter. But yeah.
Okay. Very good. All right. Donna Stoering is a lifelong concert pianist, an award-winning recording artist, and social entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and the founder of Listen for Life, a global movement inspiring and empowering musicians to use their gifts in the service of others. Sound good?
Perfect.
All right. Well, we are live in 3, 2. We are live with Donna Stoering. Donna, are you ready to talk?
Absolutely.
Donna Stoering. Oh, what's that?
Always.
Always. All right. Well, Donna Stoering is a lifelong concert pianist, an award-winning recording artist, and social entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and the founder of Listen for Life. Listen for Life is a global movement inspiring and empowering musicians to use their gifts in the service of others. Donna Stoering, welcome to the talk.
Thank you so much.
So your
Great
talk
to be here.
Your talk is called Listen for Life, the Power Within Music to Change Our World, or it was also called Change Your Music, Change Your Life. This was an interesting hybrid talk because usually you either have a talk or you have a performance, which also counts as a talk. And the first thing you did was sit down and start playing Rachmaninoff's Prelude in, I think, C# minor, which is a great piece. So I lost track after a dozen of these pieces. You were playing concerti, you were playing different solo, a little boogie woogie in there, a little Flight of the Bumblebee jazzified, some Gershwin, all kinds of stuff. I don't know if you can tell, but I have a conservatory degree. I was taking notes. It was a delight, but I'd love for you to take us behind the talk, Donna.
Well, the talk on TEDx was actually called Intentional Listening. It was a different talk. And it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it wasn't my idea. I'm not taking credit for that idea at all.
Oh my word. So that wasn't your idea. That would be one of the hardest things. If you can imagine Talk Universe, how you play these things flawlessly. She's talking as she's playing these pieces. There's a reason that you don't talk when you're playing the piano, these pieces. So, and it wasn't even your idea. So you must be an unbelievably flexible person to be able to take someone else's idea. Why did you decide to do that? You landed it, you pulled it off, but why did you decide to put yourself through that, Donna?
I just thought it was a really great idea. It was my coach, that TEDx has you work with a coach. And my coach said, we were talking about being yourself and sharing who you are. And I said, well, if they have a piano, I could actually start the talk with something just to open it up and grab the topic in an interesting way. And he said, wait a minute. Can you play and talk at the same time? And I said, well, little snippets, I've done that, but you mean the whole talk? He said, yeah. And I thought, I'm always up for a challenge. Okay.
My word. I mean, this Talk Universe, this was the equivalent of like it's like an America's Got Talent type. I don't mean to demean, because there's kind of an amateurish kind of offbeat nature to some of these reality shows. But I mean, it's like juggling and patting your tummy while riding a unicycle around and doing a hula hoop. And at a very, very, very high level, because Donna has been a prodigy, a concert pianist. You've got your entire reputation up there, and it's like a 18-minute or 16-minute masterclass where I've seen people in a coaching situation rattle off perfectly on the piano while teaching someone on the stage that everyone's watching, and be able to talk over that. But this was you performing. This was not a little bit of a casual, the expert is giving the advice. This is your talk. So somebody had a great idea of that. I'm just trying to listen here. It seems like the coach, great idea. I don't know. Do you think that the coach had any idea the level of challenge that he or she was suggesting to you with that little pithy comment right there?
I hadn't thought about that, maybe a little bit, but absolutely not to the fullest extent, because when we came back and did the first round, via Skype, he was kind of, wow, I didn't realize how amazing that would work, but how hard. And the real challenge was getting it down, because the particular TEDx place I was doing, the TED Talk was, they had to be extremely tight with the timing.
Yes.
And so that was the most nerve-wracking part, was if I do 5 minutes, 5 notes over, or I don't time the words that I want to say exactly with the piece to fit exactly where I want it to be, to mean the direction we're trying to go, then the talk's going to run 20 seconds over or whatever. So I had to nail it every time.
Yes, you
and
did.
That took a lot of rehearsals to get it down. I think the first time we did it, it was like 40 minutes. And then every time we wheedle down and wheedle down and wheedle down. So,
well, this is very meta, because as an artist, you're bringing in, I mean, you're talking about the joy of Chopin, and you're playing, I don't know if that was a Polonaise or a waltz of Chopin, or what expert that was. Mm-hmm. It was a waltz. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then you had the joy of Mozart, and you had a different style right there, from 100 years prior, but you have the best piece in your repertoire that you selected for whatever piece of your talk you were talking about, and then you're talking over it, and then you have to time the excerpt so that it works, and then you have to be a good
remember your
speaker. You have to be a good speaker, and if they gave you, I've got it. Well, I had it pulled up a second ago. 16 minutes, 17 minutes, or whatever it is. You have to be down to the second or below, and I mean the logistical challenges, I think, can only be appreciated by other people that that have been good, amateur or professional pianists, or have developed cultivated a real appreciation for that. So this is fun. This is a really extra meta episode of Be the Talk with Donna right now, because she pulled off something that was just amazing. Just really, really amazing. What was the of all the things that we're talking about, what was the most difficult part of that for you? Because you've got all of these Herculean challenges. I am glad to close that loop that the coach eventually realized what he had put you through with that comment and idea. I mean, did his eyes get big, or did he pick his jaw off the floor, or what was the reaction?
Yeah, probably all of the above a little bit. He's a nice guy. He's very positive, very encouraging person, and he's a great coach. He travels all over doing this for different organizations. So yeah, he was great. Some of the challenges. Well, actually, in this particular talk, when it actually happened, they had the what would you call it? Sort of the fanny pack voice box, wired through my top, and
the microphone.
For the microphone.
And
we had to, things, because we had to have sound on the piano. We had to have sound on me.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It was a weird setup for them as well.
Yeah.
Because they had to roll the piano out just for my talk after somebody else's talk and get it on and everything. So anyway, they said go, and I walk out, and we had it timed so that I would start my talk sort of as I go towards the piano, right? And so I sat down and I opened up and I started playing and started speaking, and they stopped me and they said the battery on the mic pack isn't working, and we're going to have to start over. Would you please go off stage? So then I had to go off.
The false start. Talk universe. Donna went through the false start. So how did you recoup that?
And do it again,
we call that the false start. Now, as a pianist, you're unless you break a string, which happens a lot, you don't get a false start as a concert pianist, right? Like, you're there with the orchestra, I mean, it's like you've got to be on. Doesn't matter what's going on, you got to be on. But in a branded talk like a TED Talk, they can do that to you. So it's a little unsettling. So where did you draw from? Your performance background, all of these. What was going through your mind? How did you pull it back together to come on the second time?
I was just really glad that it had happened to me and not to someone else among the speakers, because I've been artistic ambassador for different countries and traveled all over the world as a keynote speaker for the UN and different organizations, as well as being a concert pianist since I was 5. So I have the experience. It's just part of my life to not get rattled of something like that, but I would have felt bad for someone else. And also it actually ended up being a, I guess, blessing, you'd say, in disguise, because the audience didn't know all that. And so they were really with me from the first second I restarted, because they were petrified that I was going to feel nervous or upset about it. So I really was fortunate to have extra connection with everyone in that packed audience, pulling for me or listening very intently, which is what I was trying to talk about, was how do you listen?
Powerful. So now that piece about the UN ambassador, I didn't see that on the bio. Maybe it cut that off. I need to have stuff like that in the bio. Tell me a little bit. Was that was related to your skills as a concert pianist? What I'm assuming, or was that in addition to that? How did that come about for you?
I was living in London and artist in residence at Oxford University, and was invited to what I like to travel to different countries as an artistic ambassador for the UK at that point. But then in my travels, I ended up also serving in that role for the USA, just in my travels and in speaking invites. Some of the speaking invites came from founding Listen for Life 20 years ago, and it's still going, and it's in, maybe 55 countries. So, for example, the UN organizations asked me to address them about the use of music for cross-cultural communication or humanitarian issues. Because the whole idea of Listen for Life is showing both music listeners and other musicians how music is a very powerful tool. It is not commercial background noise or entertainment. It can be a very powerful tool. And my whole goal for the future is to do what I can to help musicians and listeners see the potential for that power, so that maybe 2 generations from now, musicians are seen as the influencers rather than just or only the celebrities or the government bodies or the politicians or the educators. Musicians and artists see the world, see their society in such unique ways and powerful ways as prophets and healers, that they need to take their voice, even if they're not major celebrity musicians as such, and they're working in a field of music that doesn't get as much global airplay. But if it represents their culture especially, they need to be able to have that voice and to be seen by themselves as well as their listeners as very important pieces spiritually and intellectually in their communities. And right now that doesn't exist. So,
well, we've been talking to Donna Stoering about her foundation, Music for Life, and her talk. Listen for Life, Listen for Life. And we've been talking about her talk, Intentional Listening, Music's Power as a Channel of Communication. And we're going to pivot over to you, Talk Universe. And we're going to do that right now in just a moment over in the Blitz Round. And we are live again with Donna Stoering. It is time for the Blitz Round. I'm going to ask Donna a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent talk. Donna, are you ready?
Sure, with something we didn't cover already in the chat. Right?
Well, here are the Blitz Round questions. First off, were you invited to speak or did you apply?
Invited.
And this is funny. Are you a memorizer, improviser, or a blender? I'm just going to let that one sit. Which one are you?
Probably blender.
Yeah. You think it was all three? Because you have the music. It's like that with your talk. I asked that question. It's like I think all three, but you're blending the whole thing up in meta blending upon blending ways. What was the most painful part of your talk that you had to cut out?
Probably 10 other musical segments that I really wanted to share that showed a particular point of music's purpose in life, but there was just no room.
Yeah, well, that would have been a marathon for sure. Did you have like a hierarchy of pieces, or was it more the text determines the music, the things that you said, and the music that matched up with that, and then the bottom 10 had to go, the bottom 10 pieces, or was it some other way that you determined?
No, you're right. It was the text determined the pieces. We changed the entire talk from scratch 3 times. And the last time I created the talk was 3 days.
You
3 days
built
before.
that whole thing from scratch 3 times.
Yeah. Because there were too many different directions I wanted to go from. And so by having totally different talks, we had totally different pieces. And the pieces were chosen partially for the rhythm and speed of the pieces, because I had to be able to time my phrases with that particular rhythm. I found that it was much harder to talk to specific rhythms than other rhythms. Just the cadence of the voice speaking, right?
Yeah. Well, that would be, man, I can appreciate the complexity of it. So can a lot of our listeners, and even those that can't, they still can empathize with that, whether they have the personal experience of that or not. Now, you mentioned the, what did I call it? The false start and coming out again. So not including that, what was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened before or during your talk?
Okay. I have never had this happen before, but it was due to the air conditioning in the building and probably nerves, but my mouth went completely dry. I have never in all my years of speaking had that happen. Never. And my roof of my mouth stuck to the rest of me. And I felt like I was saying, and I really swore when I came off. Everybody was wonderful. The audience went nuts and all that. And I came off and my husband came up to me and he said, that was great. And I said, are you kidding? I couldn't speak a single word. I couldn't pronounce anything. My mouth was stuck together. And he goes, no, I didn't hear that. And I had to go back and listen to the talk, which took forever for them to edit so I could actually hear it. Before I believed that you could actually understand any of the words I said.
Well, this is amazing. I mean, this is amazing. I mean, why wouldn't that happen to Donna? Because you're playing. You're not, you're not like a soprano accompanying yourself. Or I mean, when have you given a talk during a mashup recital excerpt? You've never.
I've actually had concerts where I've sung and accompanied myself.
Oh, you have?
And that hasn't happened.
Talk Universe, I spoke too soon.
But it was just, they told me that it happened to some people there because of the air conditioning or something. It dried you out. I don't know.
Well, okay, so I have a solution. I have a solution for Donna, as well as all the rest of you in Talk Universe that are going to, whether maybe you're a violinist or maybe you're a singer and you're going to give a talk while you're doing opera excerpts or arias or something. I'm being a little silly right now, but a really, really, really long straw. And you could rig up a straw with, a thing of water off stage a little or off to the side. Because you can't use your hands. That's the point of my long-winded joke here. I mean, Donna, come on.
I could not reach for a glass of water.
Stuck. You'd have to have like a page turner or a bottle swigger person.
The other challenge was that some of the TEDx or TED speakers have a prompter at the bottom. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at a piano. I have no prompter. I have nothing to look at. So I had this little teeny cheat sheet rigged up, but then we decided there was nowhere to put it. So I just had to remember where I was going.
Oh my gosh. Hey, well, this has been the Blitz Round with Donna Stoering. Her talk is called Intentional Listening, Music's Power as a Channel of Communication. If you want to check out what we've been talking about, and she's been pretty good natured at some of my poor jokes, just because I understand a lot of
I need to
what
hear more about your conservatory.
Yeah, well, I'm available for some podcasts, but we'll get to that offline. But before we do, you can go to our show notes page at bethetalk.com and catch her TED performance. It's a TEDx performance /talk. It is amazing what Donna did, even with her mouth going dry in the middle of it. Just amazing. You can check out her website at listenforlife.org, as well as donnastoering.com. Donna's last name is spelled Stoering, donnastoering.com. And we'll be back in just a moment with Donna Stoering for the final word of advice. And we're back. It's time for the final word of advice with Donna Stoering.
I have no idea. Ask me another question.
Gotta give the final word of advice. So not everybody's a performer, but everybody is a performer, because when you walk out on that stage, it's go time. So what's your advice for people that are performers as well as non-performers who become performers?
Okay, sorry. I would say it really helps whether I'm speaking or I'm performing, or both. I always I pick somebody in the audience, even if I can't see everybody, I'll pick someone and I aim what I'm saying to that person. I try and make eye contact, and I'll think about a friend or someone that I want to share that message or that piece or that idea with. And in my head, I'm speaking to that person. And that seems to help me phrase what I'm trying to say in a way that doesn't sound too intellectually or lectury or preachy.
Well, Donna Stoering, thank you for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's a wrap. Hey, we've got some likes out there. Hey, thank you, Ben, for the like. Thank you. Oh, Mary, Mary likes herself. She clicked on that. And then our Talk alumni, Brian. I've got a couple of friends out there. I'm going to call out my conservatory neighbor from the hall, Rich McBain, who often watches these when they're in the afternoon. I've moved the show closer to the morning just because that's a better energy time for me. But Rich, I'm going to tag you, buddy, on this because you're going to believe what Donna went through, as well as you, Brian Leahy. Man, you are. These are two guys from my studio. We studied with the head of the conservatory back in the day, and they're going to love this. I can't wait to please, Brian and Rich, just go in comments so that Donna and I can respond to this whole thing. You're going to be amazed at what Donna let her coach put herself through, as well as you two guys. You could do a similar performance as well. So I just want to open this up to those two people in particular. Let's do this. We are still broadcasting, so I'm going to bring Mary back, and we're going to start wrapping this up. And Mary, what are your thoughts on the trial by fire that Donna went through successfully? She crushed it on the stage. What do you think?
You know, I'm really impressed. So I know what it's like in that situation. There's so much pressure, especially with the audience there and the setup and gearing up to go on stage. So I take my hat off to you. I really, and also for somebody, I had to change my talk 3 days before, completely scrap it. So there is that pressure when you've gone from something that feels like it's in your system to rewriting it again, to get something new in your system. So no, it was. Yeah, I felt it.
But it goes much better that way because the new idea comes so much more fully you, right?
Yes. I mean, the thing is, I had was that my title, they were really worried about my original title. They said it was too provocative. So, of course, when you change a title, you have to change.
What was the original title? We're still broadcasting, but we're getting some really good juice here. Okay. So what was the original provocative, too provocative, censored title?
Well, mine was why doing good is dangerous and bad things are necessary. And they were just like,
so we like that.
The whole thing. And it made sense when you had the context of the talk. But they were like 3 days, 4 days, they were like, no, we're too nervous. You have to come up with a whole different talk.
Mary, what was the theme of your event? Nice. Usually they have like a theme. So I wonder if that was a little too off-brand of the theme.
Yeah, I mean, it fitted the theme. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Was it like bridges, or was it like innovation, or was it do-gooders, or what was it?
I can't remember now. But I think the where I was going, they were okay with it. I think they were worried that the title, because they were also feeding it live into a school, and I think they had the fear that all these young people go around saying,
doing good is bad. Okay, I'll burn the place down. Or something horrible. I shouldn't say things like that. But that's the idea. I guess they didn't want to incite any foolish or enable any near-well behavior. So, well, there you go. So, hey, anything else to say before we go off the broadcast? And again, if you are in the Mary or Donna fan club, you can be like the creepy kid on The Shining, that crazy Stephen King movie, but don't be like the crazy kid, but wiggle your finger over the share button and help spread this. Whether this is live, it's not going to be live very much longer. So if you're seeing the recording, go ahead and spread it. This is another opportunity for Donna and Mary and for all of us to come along. I've done my part. Let's all blast this out and help them spread their amazing message.
Well, I'd like to say, Mary, if you still coach women entrepreneurs, Listen for Life could always need your help.
Well, I love that, Donna. And, we should definitely listening to your story as well and what you're doing. I was writing things down and intrigued to find out more. And I think as well, Nathan, the whole Be the Talk, what you're doing is fantastic because it's these stories and these snippets into people's lives and keeping it real. And I think there's too much out there that is not keeping things real enough. So thank you for this as well.
Well, you're welcome. And I mean, that's
great.
why I do this, because there's a lot left on the table. And for it's a democratized platform. A lot of people are really surprised when they pick up, Chris Anderson, the head of TED, they pick up his book and he has it right in there. You have ideas worth spreading, yet there needs to be more of a bridge to the platform. And a lot of people don't know how or why. And that's why I've actually identified 9 roadblocks that keep people from doing what we've all been able to do, which is give a talk to change the world. And that's actually why I'm starting to pivot. I'm going to be pivoting this podcast in the future, possibly closer to helping other people. I mean, it is Be the Talk right now, but getting your talk accepted is really the key piece. So look for a pivot, everybody, because that's really where I'm headed. I appreciate the kind words. And with that, we're going to end the broadcast. Take care. And don't forget, wiggle your finger and share and spread. Take care, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Bye.